This afternoon, a UW alumnus and award-winning journalist has been found safe in Norway. We'll share his family's reaction.
Plus, history is repeating itself. The latest on the Texas lawmaker standoff and how it calls back to Wisconsin's past.
And air quality is a little bit better right now, but I'll have the full smoke forecast coming up.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Thanks for joining us today, everyone. We have updates to some breaking news nationally. We now know the name of the suspected Fort Stewart shooter.
The Army says Cornelius Radford shot 5 of his fellow soldiers this morning at the Georgia Army post. Moments after law enforcement responded, the fort was on lockdown. Within an hour, Radford was arrested. The president and top officials have been briefed on the shooting. All of the victims are expected to recover.
And back here in Wisconsin, police in Beloit are investigating after a driver hit and killed a 7-year-old boy. Police say a car hit the boy on Prairie Avenue near Summit Avenue Tuesday afternoon. First responders took the boy to the hospital. They later sent him by med flight to UW Hospital in Madison, where he later died. The driver stayed on the scene and is cooperating with the investigation. The State Patrol is still working to complete its accident reconstruction. And as soon as we know more about this situation, you will too. You can receive updates directly to your phone with the free Channel 3000 mobile app.
And let's get a look at your first warn forecast. Meteorologist Jacob Montesano is here. Good news, it looks like some of that smoke has lifted.
Yeah, right now the air quality is at moderate levels for just about everyone, which is an improvement from not just yesterday, but really over the past about week, where we've had the unhealthy for some to completely unhealthy levels. But right now it isn't bad at all. Still not perfect, but zooming further out, you can actually see that there is much better air quality to the west, and that is the smoke that's over our area right now will clear out, and the very little smoke that's across the Great Plains will move into the area. However, this is not expected to last forever. Could see some light smoke Thursday, but I'm mostly talking about towards the end of the week. So for the next 24 to 36 hours, it is going to remain at good to moderate levels, but there are also some wildfires developing further west in the United States, and that's going to cause some of that smoke to move back into the area. This time, though, from a different source rather than from Canada, it'll be coming from the western United States. So unfortunately, we will see some lower air quality return. Now, as we take a look at the current radar, we're seeing some just very light showers for parts of the western portion of our area, and we may continue to see some light showers across the region this evening, but that'll be just about it. Any rain will be very brief. For the most part, it will be dry, and temperatures will be pretty comfortable as well. I already mentioned air quality not too bad, with temperatures in the lower 80s to upper 70s. But we are going to see a warm up, and we also are going to see a small chance of some strong storms over the next couple of days. So I'll have the forecast on both coming up a bit later.
Thank you. An update now to a story we first brought you yesterday. The Stoughton native who went missing on a hike in the mountains of Norway has been found alive.
Armand Rahman is talking with the UW-Madison alum's sister just a day after she wondered whether she'd even see her brother again. Armand?
That's right, Susan and Brady. So this is Alec Lund. He went for a hike on a solo backpacking trip on a glacier in the Folgafonna National Park in Norway for 4 days on the 31st of July. Then he went missing for roughly a week, and on Wednesday morning, Norway time, he was found just east of that national park by helicopters with the Norwegian Air Force 330 Squadron. Here are photos that the Norwegian Air Force provided to the state-run news agency NRK. Alec's sister Drew Gaddis tells me today he had fallen off a cliff and broke his foot, leaving him stranded in that one place for 6 days, surviving on little food and water. Right now, he is in the ICU and has not seen his family yet, but his sister says she's counting those minutes before she can go and give her brother a hug.
It's incredible. It is. We're just also grateful that it went in this direction and not the other direction. It is just like this huge weight has been pulled off, and it feels like we can breathe.
Lund graduated from the UW-Madison School of Journalism in 2010 and went on to win awards for his reporting on climate change for The Guardian, National Geographic, New York Times, and more. He was on a family vacation in Norway with his 4 other siblings, all raised in Stoughton, before setting off on that 4-day hiking trip. And his sister Drew tells me, as scary as this whole experience was, it renewed her faith in humanity to see thousands of people from across the globe reaching out.
Armand, thank you. Well, new information, Texas Democrats who are in Illinois were evacuated from their hotel for a bomb threat. Law enforcement didn't find explosive devices and the area is secure. The lawmakers fled to the Chicago area on Sunday, so the Texas House couldn't reach a quorum to vote on new congressional maps. Those maps, drawn at President Trump's request, could give Republicans 5 more seats. As Texas Republicans call for Democrats' removal, the president has another idea.
The FBI get involved? Should the FBI get involved?
Well, they may have to. They may have to.
Meanwhile, Democrats around the country are voicing their support.
Just hours ago, Wisconsin Representative Randy Udell released a statement that reads in part, quote, "I commend Texas Democrats for their bravery and their sacrifice. Denying quorum for months will separate them from families, homes, communities, and secondary employment. Republicans are terrified at the idea of fair midterms, and it is our duty to block their attempts to override voters' power."
And the Texas lawmakers' actions echo a similar tactic taken by Wisconsin state senators more than a decade ago.
Now, you may recall during the 2011 protests over Act 10, 14 Wisconsin state senators fled the Badger State to Illinois to block any action from taking place in that chamber. We caught up with one of those lawmakers earlier this week who reflected on that event.
There was a difference. We left because they were voting on a particular bill. What's happening in Texas, I think it's a much more tragic reason, and it certainly isn't good government by any means.
You can see more of our coverage with Senator Fred Risser this Sunday at 10:30 on For the Record.
People in the village of DeForest will vote in a recall election for the village trustee. Last night, the village board voted to authorize a recall election for Bill Landgraf. The petition to recall came after multiple residents claimed Landgraf harassed them. Petitioners say the situation got worse around the time the board voted to remove fluoride from the village's drinking water with Landgraf's support. The special election will take place on September 16th. Landgraf will still be on the ballot, though. He told News 3 Now he intends to win back his seat, saying, "I encourage anyone who cares about integrity and accountability in our village leadership to do their due diligence."
To continuing coverage now ahead of the Packers and their first preseason game. Here we go. It's this weekend.
Oh my gosh, where does time go? Jason Wilde has analysis from today's practice up in Green Bay.
How you doing, everybody? It's Jason Wilde at Lambeau Field. We have reached that time in camp where everyone is ready to see someone other than each other. That's right. The first preseason game is Saturday right here against the New York Jets, and the players are done playing against each other. They're ready to, as Jordan Love told us today, see different guys across the line of scrimmage from them, see different looks on offense from a different defense, and vice versa for the defense going up against a different offense. So it's a good thing we're almost there. That game is Saturday, and then it's not a game that counts. That won't be until September 7th when the Packers take on the Detroit Lions right here at Lambeau Field and right here on Channel 3. That's it from Lambeau for now. Make sure you're following all of our free coverage of Packers training camp and the entire season on channel3000.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter so you can get all your Packers coverage delivered directly to your inbox every day. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you,
Thank
Jason.
you, Jason. Time
Exciting
to find our
time.
green and gold
I know.
garb.
Should we get some matching jerseys?
Yes.
Okay, we'll wear those. Well, the latest jobs report shows more Americans are losing their jobs than expected.
We'll share tips for those who have been laid off coming up on Live at 4.
And our First Warn weather team is tracking some storms and heat headed our way. When to expect those conditions when Live at 4 continues. Israel's military chief is warning against a full takeover of Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is reportedly contemplating ordering the conquest of the territory. In a meeting last night, the chief of the Israeli Defense Forces said fully conquering Gaza would trap the military within the enclave and would put remaining hostages at risk. As the world reacts to the news, experts say it's not a surprising development.
If you look at statements that have been coming out of the Israeli cabinet and senior Israeli officials over the last few months, they have basically been saying that this is their preferred plan all along, that they want to go back into Gaza, take it over, push Palestinians out, and resettle Gaza.
Netanyahu will urge a meeting of the Security Cabinet on Thursday to support the full conquest of Gaza. All of this as starvation is leading to more deaths in the region.
White House officials say the president could meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin soon. The announcement follows U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff's meeting with the Russian president in Moscow today to talk about the war in Ukraine. In a social media post, President Trump says the meeting was productive. Russian officials dubbed it a, quote, constructive conversation as well. Meanwhile, the White House is amping up economic pressure to end the war by targeting countries that are doing business with Russia.
These are really secondary sanctions. Steve Witkoff arrived in Moscow with the message that Trump is getting tougher on the customers for Russian energy exports.
U.S. officials say sanctions against Russia will still go into effect on Friday if a deal is not reached to end the war. President Trump plans to meet with President Putin, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, as well in that meeting in the coming weeks.
One of the countries the president is considering putting more pressure on is India. Another 25% tariff will go into effect in 3 weeks. The White House calls the new tariff a necessary and appropriate punishment for India's imports of Russian oil. It marks the first time President Trump has used secondary sanctions on countries he says are fueling Russia's war. To Wall Street now, the Dow is up 81 points, the Nasdaq is up 253 points, the S&P 500 is up 46 points.
The latest jobs report shows the labor market is slowing down and some employers are laying off workers.
And if you've been let go, CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger has tips on what to do next.
Losing a job can be shocking, but there are important steps to take right away. If you received health coverage through work, contact Human Resources to learn about COBRA. It allows you to keep your coverage for up to 18 months, but you have to pay for it and it can be expensive. Compare the cost with the Affordable Care Act, which offers a special enrollment if you leave your job for any reason. If you're under the age of 26, you can also opt to be on your parents' health insurance plan. Next step. You, not your company, must file for unemployment benefits. Every state has different rules and some have waiting periods. If you qualify, the first payment will generally be made a few weeks after your claim is processed. Finally, for those who have a retirement plan at work, there are 3 options. Keep the money where it is if your old company allows it. If you find a new job, you can roll the money over to your new company's retirement plan, or roll it over to a traditional or Roth IRA account. As a last resort, you can cash out an old retirement plan, but doing so means that you'll pay ordinary income tax plus a 10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half years old. Jill Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
And if you need to apply for unemployment benefits, go to the Department of Workforce Development's website. That is dwdwisconsin.gov. And then click on the unemployment drop-down UI Home and press Apply for unemployment benefits.
Wildfires are popping up across North America, from Hawaii to Canada, leaving millions of Americans under air quality alerts. A 126,000-acre fire near the Grand Canyon has been burning for more than a month. The Gifford Fire, now California's biggest wildfire of the year, is threatening more than 800 structures. It's roughly 10% contained, though. California's Rosa Fire has also disrupted power and put families out of their homes.
I like all the trees and bushes, and it's kind of sad to see fire on there.
I could cry right now, but I'm trying not to. The power went off. So I immediately called Ansel Electric and said, what happened? And they go, oh, there's a fire in Pinyon Pines. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm in Pinyon Pines.
With peak wildfire season still ahead in western regions, officials say the risk could get worse, fueled by dry conditions, high winds, and extreme heat.
For us, at least the haze, the wildfire smoke is abating a little bit, but the heat and humidity are still here, and maybe a couple chances for storms as well. Jacob is watching it all.
Thanks, Susan. Yeah, if we look at the three things you need to know, we are going to see a chance of storms for tomorrow and again over the weekend with some pretty hot temperatures to end the week. And we still might be dealing with some of that wildfire smoke as we head into the weekend. This time not from Canada, but rather from the western United States, like you just mentioned. Now, looking at tomorrow's thunderstorm chances, there is a marginal risk for everybody for the possibility of some strong storms or some minor hail. The tornado risk is pretty much zero, very, very low, but we definitely could see some storms produce some strong winds and minor hail, like I mentioned. Now, for this evening, some very light showers are possible, but that will be just about it. We are going to be mostly dry for the overnight hours and into Thursday morning. But by the afternoon and evening hours Thursday, we're going to see some showers and thunderstorms begin to pop up. And especially during the evening, we'll see some of these scattered thunderstorms. And again, small chance some of those could be severe. And this is going to continue into the early overnight hours Thursday, but once we get towards Friday morning, a lot of this will clear out of the area. Still might see some lingering showers and storms late in the night, but most of Friday is expected to be dry. Now, as we take a look at the smoke forecast, still seeing some of that light smoke across our area, but it is improved over the last couple of days. And tonight won't be too bad at all. Maybe starting to see some more light smoke move back into the area for Thursday morning. But by Thursday afternoon, we're going to be good again. But looking off to the west, once we get towards Friday, it does look like we are going to see some more heavier smoke move into the area. Now, the good news is that we are going to see some pretty strong southerly winds. So it's really going to disperse a lot of the smoke, but it's still going to remain present across our area. Friday and Saturday will be when we see the strongest winds, but we're still going to see some of those gusty winds continue into Sunday. Now, if the wildfire smoke was up in Canada, this would be great news. But unfortunately, because it's out west and kind of drifting across the United States and drifting across the southern United States, it will bring some smoke into our area. But because of the strength of the wind, again, it's not expected to be super thick. And if it is, it likely is not going to last too long unless those wildfires continue to get worse across the western United States. Now, as we take a look at the temperatures, those southerly winds will also bring in some warm temperatures, especially Friday, where highs are going to be near 90. And for much of next week, still going to be warm, not quite as warm as Friday, but we're going to see consistent highs in the 80s. So we're certainly not done with summer just yet. I mean, it's still early August. Hasn't necessarily felt like summer temperature-wise the last week or so, certainly below normal. It will be a lot warmer over the next 10 days. And again, as far as the air quality goes, it doesn't look too bad tomorrow, but we may see some of that heavier smoke move back in for Friday and to the weekend. Still a bit unclear just how bad it will be, considering we are going to see some pretty strong southerly winds, which will at least help make it a little bit less, isolated across our area.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. Well, coming up on Live at 4, a unique family is forming in Madison.
Our Kyle Pozorski speaks to the photographer who introduced people to the special bird family when we come back.
Well, you may have seen them by now. A pair of sandhill cranes, along with its colt, have adopted a fourth member of the flock, a Canadian goose, and it happened in Madison.
Our Kyle Pozorski caught up with the man who has become somewhat of a bird paparazzi, bringing attention to this unique situation.
The photos you're seeing were taken by Allen Ginsberg, showing what can only be described as a unique and natural phenomenon. The photos have been shared all over social media, and you see what happened was a sandhill crane colt hatched this spring. But after its parents relocated to a new nest thought to have been abandoned, out hatched a Canadian gosling, coming out of an egg left behind in that very nest. The adult sandhills have since raised it as one of their own alongside their colt. Allen has documented it all, showing the young birds growing and spreading their wings.
But somehow they've adapted. The mother still looks for food there, and they've been able to find it. We're at the point now where they're beginning to start to fledge, start to fly.
Alan says in his decade plus of photographing birds, he's never seen anything quite like this. In fact, in his research, only about 5 other instances have been recorded of a pair of cranes adopting another species of bird. He hopes to continue following the flock throughout the rest of the summer, all before migration season begins early this fall. In Madison, Kopzorski, News 3 Now.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
The power of a mother's love.
Uh-huh.
Alan, those pictures are terrific. And Alan is now working to sell a collection of photo cards with a portion of each sale going to the International Crane Foundation in Baraboo.
And be sure to tune in to News 3 Now at 5 to hear more on Alan's story and that effort.
Coming up on Live at 4, the air quality may be getting a little better today, but the problem is expected to return for years.
Ellie LaLiberte speaks with experts on the topic about the cause and how communities can handle it.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4, moving forward.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Live at 4. Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Yeah, we're starting with weather coverage on this Wednesday afternoon. Let's take a look outside today. Oh, this is great. Just relaxing on a kayak in the middle of Lake Monona. The weather words for today, turning very warm and stormy.
And that'll come after the air quality improves. We have team coverage of the changing conditions. Our Ellie LaLiberte is live on our patio with how people in Beloit are monitoring poor air quality. And meteorologist Jacob Montesano is in studio with when we can expect the haze to go away. Let's start with Ellie. Ellie, what can you tell us?
Yeah, hey guys, well, I'm on Madison's west side right now where the air quality is at a level 2 out of 5. That means it's moderate. But just last week, south central Wisconsin saw it get to a level 3, which is unhealthy for some, and a level 4, which is just unhealthy. Now, today I went down to Beloit and I spoke with a professor of environmental studies, and he says there's 3 reasons why we're seeing big spikes in Canadian wildfires. One is because we have better tracking. Another is other pollutants are down, so we notice wildfire smoke more. And the third is because of dry conditions in Canada.
The problem that we have right now is that those fires are bigger because we have longer periods of drought, so they burn a lot longer, which means that because they burn longer, they produce more pollutants that are brought downwind to the United States.
Now, so far this year, there have been 22 air quality advisory days. That compares to just 3 last year, and the wildfire season runs for another month. Now, the most vulnerable populations from the wildfire smoke are children, the elderly, and those with asthma. And according to a 2020 Wisconsin Department of Health Services report, Rock County has the 5th level of highest hospitalizations due to asthma. And tonight at 6, you can hear why that professor I spoke with says that these trends in these wildfires we're seeing aren't going away. But for now, reporting live on Madison's west side, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Ellie. We'll see you at 6. And in response to the smoke from the Canadian fires, Wisconsin Representative Calvin Callahan is calling for the EPA to investigate that country's wildfire management practices. The Republican from Tomahawk is joining lawmakers from Iowa, Minnesota, and North Dakota in making that demand. His letter reads in part, quote, "Our workers, families, and kids can't afford to breathe toxic air day after day. Canada needs to step up and take responsibility before more Wisconsinites suffer."
And for a closer look at the conditions and when they're expected to change, here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano.
Thanks, Brady. Right now, moderate to good across the area, certainly an improvement over the last couple of days. And if zooming further out, there is a lot of good air quality across the plains, and that good air quality is expected to move into our area for tonight and most of tomorrow. Still could see a brief period of some smoke move back into the region for the next 24 to 36 hours, but for the most part, we're going to see the air quality at pretty good levels for today and most of tomorrow. However, because we are seeing heavier wildfires across the western United States, we are going to see some of that smoke move into the area. So the last week or so, we've seen a lot of smoke from Canada. Now we're going to see a lot of smoke from the western United States, and this is expected to continue over the weekend. Now, we also are going to see some storms tomorrow, but they're not going to happen until much later in the day. And for tonight, we could see a few light showers this evening. But overall, most of the area won't see any rain, and those that do see rain will see it at a very light pace and very briefly, I should point out as well. So the evening is looking pretty good, especially considering the air quality is a bit better. We'll see temperatures dropping into the upper 70s by around 6 to 7 p.m. We will see a good amount of cloud cover, but temperatures and conditions pretty good for the rest of the evening and tonight. But again, we are going to see those storms tomorrow. I'll talk more about that coming up a bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. You can track the forecast for yourself on the First Warn Weather app. You can download it for free in your phone's app store. Just search WISC Weather.
To national news, a 28-year-old soldier was taken into custody after 5 other soldiers were shot today at Fort Stewart in Georgia.
Army officials say the victims are in stable condition and expected to recover. A motive for the attack is not yet clear. CBS's Dave Malkoff reports from Atlanta.
Law enforcement responded to reports of a shooting in Fort Stewart's 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area just before 11 on Wednesday morning. The suspect is a male U.S. Army sergeant.
We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team.
Moments later, the fort was locked down. An Army official tells CBS News the suspect was apprehended by the Army Criminal Investigative Division.
Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat. Sergeant Radford has been interviewed by the Army Criminal Investigation Division and is currently in pretrial confinement, awaiting a charging decision.
In the aftermath, officials posted on social media that there is no active threat to the community. The wounded soldiers were treated on site and taken to an Army hospital. Some were also taken to Memorial Health University Medical Center in Savannah. That's according to a spokesperson for the facility. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt wrote on social media that President Trump was briefed on the shooting and the White House is monitoring the situation. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth were also briefed. Fort Stewart is the largest Army post east of the Mississippi River. Dave Malkoff, CBS News, Atlanta.
Well, countries around the world are changing the standard used to measure whether a person is overweight.
Dr. Zorba Pastor stops by today to explain why and what he thinks the U.S. should do coming up a little bit later.
And storms are back in the forecast. Jacob shows us when we could see them and how severe they could be in his First Warn forecast.
And it's only Wednesday, but Josh Spreiter is already working for the weekend. He has 3 things for you and your family to do in the 608 when we come back. Right now, the Madison Nightmares are preparing to play the Minot Honeybees.
And if the team beats the Bees, they'll secure their first Northwoods League softball championship. Andrew Banstra is live at Warner Park ahead of the big game. Hey, Andrew.
When the Madison Nightmares announced that they were coming to Madison, it was a dream come true for not just the Mallards and the Nightmares, but the entire city of Madison. Today, though, is an even more special day as the Madison Nightmares compete for their first ever Northwoods League softball championship. They played game 1 of the 3-game series on Monday night in Minot, North Dakota. And here we are on Wednesday night as the Honeybees traveled to Madison as the Nightmares try to buzz their way into history. It's been a historic season for the Nightmares. They went 35-7 in the regular season, a full 14 games better than any other team in the Northwoods League. They have been fantastic all year, and it would be a dream come true in the team's 2nd year in existence to finish as champions. Coming up at 5, we'll talk with the Nightmares head coach Lexi Godwin. Until then, get ready for the game and get over to Warner Park. Tonight, guys, should be a very fun night.
Sounds good. Thank you, Andrew. Something fun to do tonight.
Oh, they've had an incredible season. Good luck to them tonight.
Love to see it. Well, it may only be Wednesday, of course, but we are already working for the weekend in the 608.
Josh Spreiter has the weekend planner for your family.
Here are my 3 things to do this weekend in the 608. We start with it in the 608 follow-up. Last week, we featured the Angie W. Cox Library in Partyville turning 100 years old. And now is your time to celebrate. They are having an end-of-summer party on Saturday with an open house, garden tour, a bounce house for children, live music, refreshments, and cake. This runs from 10 to 3. A big shout-out to the Partyville community for rallying behind the place that means so much to them. And now to Marquette County, as the city of Montello is celebrating its 175th anniversary on Saturday. There's a parade at 10 a.m. with many activities at City Park, too. I'm told the UWL Marching Band will be one of many performing in that parade. And finally, it's your last chance to head from the 608 to the 414 for the Wisconsin State Fair. This is at State Fair Park in West Allis. The fair ends Sunday, so now's your time to enjoy all things Wisconsin until next year. For more happenings this weekend in the 608, just go to the story on channel3000.com. In the 608, I'm Josh Breiter, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Josh. Coming up on Live at 4, doctors are questioning whether BMI is an effective way to measure a person's health.
Dr. Zorba Pastor explains why when Live at 4 returns.
A new University of Florida health study shows the body mass index, or BMI, is a poor predictor of future health.
Doctors have long used BMI as a quick screening tool, but it doesn't show the entire picture. Dr. Zorba Pastor is here today with more. Hi, Zorba. Good to see you.
Good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about this study.
Well, BMI is height and weight, and it's easy to measure. You go into your doctor's office, electronic medical record, got your height, got your weight, and it may say that you're overweight or obese when you're not. And I'll give you the perfect example. I was working in Wanakee the other day, and a guy came in who was muscular and athletic, and the BMI said he was 27, which would imply that he's overweight. He was not overweight. But if you looked at him, I mean, if you actually looked at him, you looked at somebody like that, you would realize it also is the relationship of your belly to your waist. In other words, it's really another measurement that makes it. So for men, it should be 1 or less. And for women, it can be 0.8. So you have to look at that number. You measure your waist.
You're measuring the distance between your...
No, you're measuring you're measuring your circumference around your belly button.
Okay.
And the circumference around your waist. And basically, if you're overweight, you're going to have more abdominal fat, and that turns out to be the risk factor for heart disease.
Interesting.
So we're over measuring when we do the BMI. We're getting a lot of people who are really very muscular, and it says they're overweight. Doesn't mean anything.
And that can be problematic too, because if someone is looking and feeling good, but the BMI is telling them another thing, that could lead to eating disorders and other issues.
That's right. Like, I'm really overweight and I'm not really overweight. And also, from a point of view of, we'll say, things like life insurance. You're buying whole life insurance. If your BMI is too high, then you'll be rated at risk when you actually may be muscular and an athlete. There also are some other measurements you can buy, devices called impedance devices. Go on the web and you can find it. You put your hands in there and your feet, and it'll measure your body fat. And body fat changes with age. So when I look at myself in the mirror at 78, I may be the same weight that I was at 48, but you know what? I don't look the same at 48. So there's a change in normal body fat that occurs as we get older. We have more body fat, but we may be healthy. So you want to look at the chart, you want to measure belly fat, because that's really the issue, and you have to look at BMI and say, maybe it doesn't mean exactly what we thought.
So you have to be more thorough with your patients.
Absolutely.
And look at things like cholesterol.
Correct, exactly. You have to look at everything together. And BMI, it's been easy to measure, but the real point about this is the fact that it really has not been accurate in terms of predictions. So a lot of people measure high BMI, but they actually live a long life.
Do you think it's true that you can be thin and unhealthy and heavier and healthy?
Absolutely, because there are all these other factors. It's whether or not you have balance, whether or not you have strength, it's your cholesterol levels, it's a whole bunch of things. It's not one measurement. And then it's family history. It's also how we live and we progress in the future that makes a difference, because if you start better health now, you will live longer.
Also, shout out to us. There was a fly buzzing around. Did everyone see that? We didn't break.
You didn't skip a beat.
I noticed it.
Always
well done,
you.
Zorba. Good to see you.
And let's get a check of our first warning forecast. Jacob is standing by with a look at the conditions out there. Jacob.
Thanks, Brady. If we look at the 3 things you need to know, we are going to see some storms return tomorrow and also over the weekend. We also see those temperatures warm up, especially Friday, where highs highs will be near 90. And we also will continue to see some lower air quality as more smoke is expected to move back into the area a little bit later towards the end of the week. But for the next couple days, it won't be too bad. Now, looking at the severe weather outlook for tomorrow, marginal risk for just about everybody, but this is mostly for strong winds and minor hail. The tornado risk is pretty much zero. And although the storms are going to likely impact everybody, we're likely not going to see widespread severe weather across the area. So looking at the rainfall forecast, we'll see a few light showers this evening, but for the most part, any rain the rest of today will be very light and very brief. Dry conditions for the most part tonight. Once we get to Thursday, we'll start out dry and sunny, but once we get to those afternoon hours, we are going to see some showers and thunderstorms develop, and they're going to continue to develop into the evening. And again, everyone will have the chance of storms, but not everyone will see the severe weather. We'll have to keep an eye on where some of these storms form to see where the strongest storms will occur. Now, this rain is expected to continue into the early overnight hours Thursday, maybe even until about midnight. But once we get to Friday morning, the showers and storms will be very isolated at that point. And then starting Friday, we are expecting dry conditions, and that will continue for most of the day with rain returning over the weekend. Now, looking at the smoke forecast, again, we're seeing some light smoke right now. And for the rest of tonight and tomorrow, we're going to continue to see some light smoke, but a little bit later into the week, we are going to be seeing that heavier smoke move into the area, this time, though, from the western United States. So unfortunately, this is something we're going to continue to be dealing with, despite the fact that we'll see the southerly winds. The smoke is now going to be coming from the south. So it's just kind of our luck the last couple of weeks here in Wisconsin. But for those of you that, are kind of worried or kind of looking towards August as the end of the summer, the next 10 days are certainly not going to feel like it, as we're going to see 80s across the board with another chance of some showers and thunderstorms for the weekend and early next week. And even after that, we're going to continue to see warm and humid conditions, and eventually the air quality is going to get better. Will be pretty good for Thursday, but we may see that heavier smoke move back in for Friday.
We're taking a live look at Warner Park, where the Madison Nightmares are having a big night. Andrew Banstra is there with coverage. If you look closely, I think he was somewhere in the right corner.
He's in the far right corner, yep. That's coming up in our next newscast. The universities of Wisconsin has admitted nearly 34,000 students who are graduating high school this upcoming year who did not submit applications.
The program expanded by 9,000 students and 150 new high schools from last year. Qualified juniors get admission up to 10 UW campuses based on coursework and grades without submitting a separate application. UW-Madison, UW-La Crosse, and UW-Eau Claire do not participate in the program.
Jacob is here with a final check of the weather. Things getting a little clearer out there and warmer.
Yeah, we are going to see temperatures warm up to possibly near 90 on Friday, but for the most part, we're staying in the 80s the next 10 days, so we're certainly not near the end of summer temperature-wise. It is going to be good air quality-wise tomorrow, but it looks like we will see some more of that smoke move back into the area. Hopefully, though, those strong southerly winds I talked about earlier kind of helps disperse the smoke a little bit, so it's not quite as heavy over a given area. But yeah, right as the winds shift, we're seeing smoke from a different direction. Just our luck.
The dog days of summer, they're here. All right, thank you, Jacob. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow on Live at 4, we'll bring you some tips for packing a healthy lunch as kids get closer to the start of the school year. And coming up on News 3 Now at 5, we'll hear from the family of a journalist from Stoughton who was found safe after disappearing in Norway. Well, thanks for joining us today on Live at 4. We'll see you back here tomorrow. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.